Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your morning Manchester United news. We have got some very interesting topics to get into as well. Apparently INEOS didn't want De Ligt, Xerxes and are trying to pin an unsuccessful summer transfer window on Dan Ashworth. Also, Mike Keegan's article yesterday talking about a 10-year plan after 1 year of INEOS. I think what we've got here is quite simply what you would expect from a global corporate machine like Manchester United. It's the response to, I thought the James Ducker Telegraph article yesterday was absolutely fantastic journalism. We don't get enough of that. And it was so good that you get a few other journalists doing work the other way. And I think that's what we're living here. So we'll unpick that. I think this De Ligt thing is bordering on disgraceful, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're De Ligt this morning and you're reading that, as a player that I think has done remarkably well at Man United, we'll delve into that anyway. Also, Amorim looking to unleash another young star. We've got the draw coming up at midday. Will it be Alkmaar? Will it be Sociedad? Who would you prefer? We'll get a poll going on about that one as well. I want to talk a little bit about Rashford and Sancho. Saw an interesting thing this morning. In his last 1,000 minutes for Chelsea, Sancho hasn't put in one successful cross. I mean, well, maybe they don't want him to cross. Maybe, well, and we moan about Delo, I suppose. Also want to talk about Branthwaite a little bit as well. But look, let's fly straight into the most important thing. What an amazing community you are. I just want to say, last night I was out playing five-a-side. I haven't played for about a year. Pulled my hamstring in the first 2 minutes and I'm in agony. But it was worth the pain to do what the United Stand's all about. Build a community that is amazing like you. And I watched the Terry show late last night. Very, very good. And that's what it should be all about. So thank you very much for that. We've got the Friday night show tonight, of course. So yeah, brilliant support for Terry on the show last night. And, you know, it's not always me, whether it's Beth, Maud's, Terry, Kev, whatever. You're fantastic and absolutely love that. Volume's low again. I apologise for this. I actually just do not know what to do. Like, I record something with Robbie every morning on a Friday on a different thing, and I come onto this, and I'm just never going to remember until I see somebody in the chat say your volume's a bit low. Patrick Lynch says the ownership are shifting the blame for every decision, good or bad, onto people who they hired and then fired. That ultimately makes them responsible. We wonder why the culture in the club is broken. Patrick, thank you very much for your super chat. Absolutely spot on. Let's start off with this then as the headline. INEOS didn't want De Ligt. So Mark Ogden in ESPN, there's an interview going round this morning, and it is going round. I've been sent it by about 4 different people. And basically, in it, it's sort of a hit piece on Dan Ashworth. It's like Man United, Dan Ashworth's okay around, you know, Dan Ashworth's never going to be the guy that's picking up the phone to European clubs like Villa's director of football. And ultimately, Man United didn't want INEOS. So Man United would be INEOS. Man United didn't want De Ligt. So that would be INEOS didn't want De Ligt. That was on Dan Ashworth. And ultimately, Man United / INEOS felt that they were already well stacked with centre-backs. And that Ashworth went and got De Ligt to sort of say thank you to Ten Hag for winning the FA Cup or something along those lines. And Xerxes was another one that was picked by Ashworth and De Ligt. And I sort of look at it and I go, well, you know, I find it absolutely incredible, because the great thing about just being a basic journalist is that you can it's all right putting that story out to the people that don't like Dan Ashworth, don't like De Ligt and like INEOS. You can feed the ego of those, and there are a few of them out there. There are people out there who defend INEOS all the time, and they will like that story. But to those of us who think that De Ligt has actually been a bright spark in a dark season, and that last summer's transfer window wasn't actually bad, then you sort of look at it and go, I'm pretty tired of this now. You've got Keown in the week talking about De Ligt being a robot. You've got Scholes going on about it all the time. You've got other pundits going on about it all the time. You've now got leaks from United, or whoever's told Mark Ogden this, to sort of, it's an anti-leak against Dan Ashworth, but it's flawed. It's really flawed, because De Ligt's actually done quite well for us. But this is an interview from Erik Ten Hag last summer. He said, I wanted to sign De Ligt 2 years ago, but at that time he was already very far along with Bayern. Believe it or not, his name did not come from me. in the process of signing him for Manchester United. During my vacation, I was away for 3 or 4 weeks and I was out of the process. During the period, it was really the club, the newly equipped scouting and recruitment department that bought in these players. The fact that some of them are Dutch is in fact a coincidence. These were players who were proposed from our organisation, but of course I support it. Let that be clear. So Erik ten Hag last summer, I remember that interview vividly. Like said that De Ligt, Ugarte, Mazraoui, whoever else we bought last summer, those 5 players, Yoro, were all from the recruitment team. And INEOS got a lot of credit for that. And Ten Hag sort of went, look, I'm happy with them, but they brought them in. So we're now in a position where we're being told Dan Ashworth and Ten Hag picked the players. Well, oh, surprise, surprise. People who've been sacked are now getting the blame. But the funny thing is, what blame are we apportioning? I mean, this is just, they can't even do PR right, because what they're trying to do is justify the sacking of Dan Ashworth by saying Dan Ashworth was responsible for the summer transfer window. But many of us look at the summer transfer window and think it was good. I'm happy with Ugarte, I'm happy with Mazraoui, I'm happy with De Ligt, I'm happy with Xerxes, and I'm happy with Yoro. None of those players are why we are where we are. Obviously, they've played games where we've played badly, but it takes time to adjust to the Premier League. Mazraoui's been, in the main, good. De Ligt has been, in the main, good. Ugarte, it's been a bit 50-50 because he didn't start playing straight away and Yoro was injured, and Xerxes is gradually getting there. But to try and paint Dan Ashworth in a bad picture by saying he was responsible for the summer transfer window actually backfires, because I think that we did well in the summer transfer window. I mean, we raised money off Greenwood, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, and we brought those 5 players in. And remember, we were shopping in a market where we can't shop in the same market as a Real Madrid or a Man City, because we are not in the Champions League. So I actually think we had a good summer. And I think the big thing for me is that what they're trying to do is, because the financials have come out and because it's a year of INEOS now, they're trying to make out that what they did with Dan Ashworth was the right thing to do. But surely we all come to the same conclusion. You recruited him. You recruited him. He was here for 3 months and you gave him 4 million quid. And you've just sacked 150 people to cover that off. So, I mean, you cannot, no matter, even if you think Dan Ashworth was a load of shit, or you thought he was okay, it doesn't matter, because they did it. They actually did it. INEOS brought him in and then they sacked him. Look, I was saying this, I don't know whether Beth said it on her show, but I was talking about it on our WhatsApp group, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this. There was a bit of a rumour going round that Dan Ashworth felt that because of the outlay they'd given Ten Hag, they should give him longer. I don't know whether this is true, but apparently Dan Ashworth fell out with INEOS because he felt that they'd spent so much money on Ten Hag in the summer, it seemed silly to sack him so quickly into the new season. And obviously INEOS made that decision. I can't be a hypocrite. I think it got to the point where Ten Hag was going to get sacked. But in hindsight, I would have given Ten Hag till the end of the season and then brought Amorim in, which is exactly what Amorim wanted. And I don't think things would have got this bad under Ten Hag, but they would have been bad enough for him to get sacked. But I think in hindsight, we should have stuck with Ten Hag until the summer and then brought Amorim in. But that's only because I can see what's happened now. I think most people wanted Ten Hag to be sacked and most people wanted Amorim in November. But looking how it's gone, you know, fans sometimes can get very emotive on subjects. I think a better business decision and a better results decision would have been to wait. But INEOS jumped in. And I think that's something I would say about INEOS. If we're analysing business decisions, they seem very, very quick to jump in. Like sacking Ashworth so quickly was stupid. And also, when you look at the sacking of Erik ten Hag, he got sacked because Michael Oliver gave a dodgy penalty. Like, would he have got sacked if we'd beaten West Ham? I don't think he would have done. So some of their decision making, look, I think sacking Ten Hag cannot be argued as a bad decision. But my point is, they sacked him because we lost to West Ham because of a Michael Oliver penalty. If we'd have won that game, they wouldn't have sacked him and would have waited another week. So Yeah, I think it's funny. But also, going back to what Patrick Lynch says there as well, I was reading the Mike Keegan article yesterday, and it was talking about how there are some people at Man United who actually quite like what INEOS are doing and feel it's overdue. And there was some sort of thing about percentages whereby in the INEOS business model, a certain percentage will get on board, a certain percentage aren't on board, but then will get on board, and a certain percentage will never get on board, and you have to sack those people. So I felt it was a bit of a spin towards positivity, towards INEOS, and it was talking about, it literally said something along the lines of, it could take 10 years to find out whether these cuts have worked. And all I ever come back to is, and it's the same with Dan Ashworth as well, they recruited Dan Ashworth and they sacked Dan Ashworth. So slagging Dan Ashworth off is slagging off yourself. And all these cuts and let's see if it happens, and you do get people going, I'm going to be patient, let's give it 3 or 4 years. What? Well, that's up to you, but for me, they rescued the Glazers. I saw somebody yesterday saying this was the best option because if the Glazers, if INEOS hadn't come in and done what they've done, the Glazers would have sold it to an American hedge fund, which would have been even worse. And I felt like going, what are you talking about? Like, they rescued the Glazers. That's a bad thing. Stop trying to justify it that it was a good thing. Like, it was a bad thing. They rescued the Glazers. Stop trying to go, well, it's better than this, it's better than that. It's not better than the Glazers leaving for a full sale and the debt being cleared, is it? And that, unless somebody can tell me it's better than that, I think, what are you talking about? Well, it could have been worse. Yeah, it could have been a hell of a lot better as well. And it's down to INEOS that it's not. And as I said, if INEOS had not got involved and not bailed out the Glazers, maybe they would have gone to an American hedge fund, but I tell you what, they wouldn't be in charge anymore because I think a lot of the protests and a lot of the fan movement won't get started because they still have this sentimental connection with the fact that Sir Jim Radcliffe has got a British passport and he's a local lad. And basically, it's a bit like Vibes. And that's what it is. It's just he's got a British passport and he's a local lad, and that's why he gets away with it, I think. If we didn't sack Ten Hag, Rashford would stay, says Dale. INEOS blame shifting is not surprising, says Ian Tracy. Corporations have honed deflection strategy over decades to take the focus off their mistakes. Not a good look. Loved the show last night. Good stuff, says Tumbleweed. Great, thank you very much. You should have warmed up first, Mark, says Carla. I did warm up first. I did warm up first. The problem is I tried to do something at 45 that I used to do at 25, which was guy on the right wing about to take a shot. And I sprinted back and stretched, probably like I haven't done in a decade, and it bang went. George Connolly said, I found the individual brilliance leaks interesting. Players are saying wins are on them, losses are on Amorim, already trying to take the blame, point the blame. Thank you very much, George, for that. So get your thoughts in. We thought it couldn't get worse, says Natasha. Well, it did. And now the Glazers are never selling. We have to make them very uncomfortable. Look, I just think that it's a conversation, isn't it? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I saw some people saying Mazraoui's shit and Delit's shit. I mean, what, you know, you can't do anything with comments like that. I mean, I don't even think that it's worthy of mentioning, other than the sense that there are people out there that would agree with it being a bad summer transfer window. I mean, I find it preposterous personally, but what I do find preposterous is that we're sort of walking into this whole division in the fan base again, aren't we? You know, if you think that Delit was a good signing, you're arguing with people who think he wasn't. The point is, you've got to stop digging in the sewer and start climbing out of it. The point is, the people who are running the show are dictating the conversation. Man United fans need to dictate the conversation, like 100%. If we want change, we need to run the conversation. And what I mean by that is that we had a very good week about exposing the problems at Man United, whether it's the financial report or the article from James Ducker talking about, you know, they're cutting canteen portions and it's a bloody mess. Then you get the response to that of, oh, it's not as bad. Some people are quite happy with what's going on and feel it's over. I mean, if I hear again Man United are trying to get their staff down to the levels of a Man City or an Arsenal. I mean, again, this is just pure bullshit. Do Arsenal and Man City have their own TV stations like MUTV? Do Man City and Arsenal have as much written about them as much as Man United do? No. We might not be as successful as them on the pitch, but as a footballing organisation, we have a lot more things going on. So we shouldn't be looking at what Man City are doing. Sacking people for efficiency reasons, okay, I understand that has to happen, but you're also sacking people because you're stupid. Like, you're wasting millions of pounds because you are stupid. Like, £25 million has gone between August and today on sacking people and recruiting other people. So there's your biggest expense. Casemiro will be sat on his arse again this weekend, earning 350 grand a week. So they push you down. Oh, look at what we're doing here. Look, and it's tiny. And then you go, well, look at what you're doing here. This big pile of shit. What you're doing positive is like looking at a rabbit shit, and what you're doing negative is looking like an elephant shit. It's massive. But that's our job as fans, isn't it? To communicate and discuss. And I just don't think it's... I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. When you look at what Mark Ogden said, where are you getting that information, we'll never know. But the fact that INEOS are trying to pin a bad summer transfer window on Dan Ashworth, I find incredible. And the fact that they're trying to put it on Ten Hag, I find even more incredible, when Ten Hag said it wasn't down to him, it was down to the recruitment team. So, and also, I just don't, we've got, it's always the same, isn't it? Was there a British player signed in the summer? No. Oh, I wonder why the British press weren't happy then. It's always the same underlying foreign bias against them. And I look at that summer transfer window and I look at people like Gravenberch at Liverpool, and his first season was very average, probably below average. And you look at him now and he's probably one of the best midfielders in Europe. De Ligt, Agate and co haven't been here really 6 months yet. And, well, they've been here about 6 months. They've had two managers. The club's in an absolute shit heap. Gravenberch went into a Liverpool team under Klopp, and it still took him a year to adjust. We've got people who've been here for 6 months who've seen a manager sacked, absolute turmoil, and I think they've done reasonably well. And I think there will be good signings. And let's not forget, De Ligt's 25, Agate's round the same. These are players that can be part of our future. I thought INEOS would walk to the right decision rather than run to a wrong one, says Barrel. And if we didn't suck Ten Hag, Anthony and Rashford stay. Sack Ten Hag, says stay away. SF Dragon, thank you very much. And welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for that. I just want to remind everybody, by the way, we've still got a couple of hundred tickets left for the Dublin show. March the 19th, which is a Wednesday. Can reveal some stuff about it. We're hoping to get Danny from the script on. Big Man United fan. And I've asked him to come on. He said he will. Obviously, he's doing tours and stuff, so it's not guaranteed, but I think he will be coming on. I want to sing along, and we can talk about Man United as well. We are going to be doing an on-stage quiz where we're going to get a few of you up to go head to head to win big prizes. I'll be the master of that. And also, if you bought your tickets, you should be getting an email very soon to start throwing in your questions as well, because we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So if you've got any good questions for that, and we've got a few other things to announce as well over the next couple of weeks. So get your tickets while you can. Links in the description. Scan the QR code. It's going to be cracking. It's right in the middle of Dublin in Temple Bar. Biggest venue we've ever done. Really looking forward to that. Danny who? Danny's the lead singer of the Script, which is a massive group band. Is there a certain team future pathway to final of Europa League that you want to get? Also, Glazers out. We need them gone and debt cleared. Yes, Kyle. Well done. So we get Sociedad or we get Alkmaar. I'm going to run a bit of a poll there. We will be live at midday to talk all about the Europa League. But who would you prefer out of those two? I don't think I want a Spanish team, to be honest with you. I mean, Sociedad are mid-table. I think they've lost 11 games this season. Zubamendi's there, isn't he? Kubo is there. And then Alkmaar are about 5th in Eredivisie. So I'd rather have Alkmaar, to be honest with you. I think we've got a bad history of Spanish teams in the Europa/UEFA Cup. So, I think I would rather get Alkmaar. But, I mean, that doesn't mean we'd definitely win. But we'll talk about the pathway a little bit later. But we're live at midday for that. I saw a stat the other day of Luke Shaw's salary, nearly 60 million of it paid while he's been out. Hey, here we are counting screws, says Lee Berman. Yeah, it's disgusting. And also, on Luke Shaw, can you remember when we spoke about it, when he got injured again? He came back from injury and he got injured again. And then I think United put it out or somebody put it out. Oh, it's not major. He'll be back he'll be back on the Monday. I think that was 2 weeks ago. Where's Luke Shaw back in training then? So I mean, he's just. We're nearly in March. I mean, I can't even. Has Luke Shaw played for Man United this season? Has he actually played a minute for Man United this season? I mean, I lose track. I mean, I don't think he has. I think the last time he wore a Man United shirt was end of January last year, wasn't it? Start of February. So, I mean, it's incredible. Mason Mount. I mean, Mason Mount got injured. When did Mason Mount get injured as well? I can't remember. Did Mason Mount get injured in December? We never even got given a date. I don't think we even know what the injury is with Mason Mount. I mean, this is Manchester United, the biggest club in England, one of the biggest sporting institutions in the world. We don't even know what is wrong with Mason Mount. Like, we don't even know what's wrong with him. And he's been out for about 2 months. Is it we're all grown-ups here. I was bloody researching hamstring injury this morning because I want to know whether I can play again next Thursday. I mean, it's not looking good, bruv, but I've never had a hamstring injury before. But I'd love to know what the injury is with Mason Mount. And all I can tell you is that what we were told before, and the person watching might be actually in the chat, he has an underlying problem to do with his pelvis, and it's going to cause him problems for the rest of his career. So, but we don't know what the problem is at the moment. Apparently he dropped his wallet on his foot. Well, it would be bloody heavy, to be fair. Hope for AZ, that will be a walk in the park, right? Says Abe. Thank you very much. Luke Shaw played. When did he play? Luciano. It sounds like a plea. Sounds like a plea. What is a Mason Mount, says Mark. We need a swap deal for Rasmus in the summer for Veghorst, says Barinda. Keep it to the Friday night show, mate. We're trying to have a serious morning show here. We let a bunch of arrogant twats take over our football club, and now we've got to figure a way out. But what is the way out, Mark, says Trey. I think, honestly, because some people just won't do this. You're either pro INEOS or against them. Whereas, obviously, I had somebody on social media yesterday reply to something I'd said about INEOS, and they literally said, well, you were championing them, you twats. And it got a load of likes. And I thought, this is the thing about Twitter. Don't take any notice of it. There are some good people on there, but actually they're just not educated. Because as you know, as a community, I was dead against INEOS. I said that they were an enemy of the football club, saving the Glazers. And when we lost, I said, I hope it works. But I wasn't. I didn't. If it works out, I'll have to put my hands up and say, I didn't think it would. But I didn't want this. I'd have took INEOS full sale and debt gone. I didn't have a problem with that. But I never wanted anybody to rescue the Glazers. So, yeah, dead against it. But to go back to what Trey was saying, to be fair, the hypothetical it works, what's the strategy? I think that is something, even if you can't stand the Glazers and you want them out, what is the INEOS plan? And I can't just sit here and keep going negative. They have a plan. And I was reading yesterday that Sir Jim Radcliffe's not in it for the money. He's already a billionaire. He actually cares about the football club. So I'm not going to ridicule that, by the way. I've got no evidence to ridicule it. But what I will say is that stupid people love things and have bad ideas on how to love it. And I think that's what we've got here. I'm not even going to say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in it for the money. I'm not even going to say it that he doesn't love Manchester United. I just don't think, just because people say, well, he's a billionaire, he knows more than you. He knows more about petrochemicals than me. Just because he's a billionaire. Did he make his money from football? No. Well, he's no better than anybody else. Just because he's a billionaire doesn't mean he knows football. There's been plenty of rich owners that have ruined football clubs. Look at Mike Ashley at Newcastle. In fact, football's riddled with rich people who mess up football clubs. So I think that's the problem here. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think the people around him know what they're doing. And if Omar Barada, as the CEO, can only sign off things to £25,000 and everything else that has to go above him, that means if you employ a new social media person on a salary of £45,000, Joel Glazer's got to sign it off. That's how stupid that is. So Omar Barada apparently only has a £25,000 limit sign off. Anything above that has to go higher up. And do believe that, because we've heard it before about Joel Glazer. But yeah, going back to what Trey was saying, I genuinely think if you want to know what the INEOS plan is, it's cut to a point where we start to be a little bit financially more secure, and then we'll probably start spending again. But the problem with that is that no club in the Premier League has ever done that and won a title. It's completely opposite. Everybody else does spend. This is football. This is not your local restaurant. Football is entertainment, it's glamour, it's risk. So INEOS are using their business principles in football, and I don't think it will work, because I think football is about expenditure. When you look at Blackburn, when you look at Chelsea, when you look at Man City, it's always been about spending. Even Man United under Sir Alex, we spent a lot of money. So I think they're trying to cut it to the bone to then make money. But the trouble with cuts is that if you cut the wrong things, it makes you less efficient. And also, the problem with cuts is, remember, the debt's still there. So whilst we're sacking you and we're saving money so that we can sign players, debt's still there. I did this, actually. I whacked it into AI yesterday, and I'll read it out to you now. So I went on, is it Gemini on Google, which is a bit like ChatGPT. So I basically went in and typed how to make Man United great again. Number one, this is literally what AI came with. So how to make Man United great again. Number one was reduce debt. The Glazers' leverage buyout saddled the club with massive debt. Prioritise debt reduction to free up cash flow and improve financial stability. Well, I've been saying that for a while. You've been saying that for a while. Even fucking AI is saying it. But again, INEOS don't want to do that. Their number one thing is sack people to raise money and keep the debt. But it's just so obvious. Like, you're spending tens of millions of pounds on debt interest. We've spent £1 billion on debt interest. And the difference between debt interest and debt, by the way, is debt. If you owe your mate a tenner and you give him a tenner, your debt is gone. If you don't give him that tenner and your mate says, for every week you don't pay that tenner, you owe me £1 in interest, and you keep giving him £1 every week, that's £52, but you still owe 10. Because you're not clearing the debt, you're just clearing the interest. And that's what United do. We're clearing the interest. The debt remains the same. And that's just a terrible way to run a football club. Terrible. Is there a certain team done that? From Kyle? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Just before we move on, by the way, I want to talk about a few other bits, but we are a community, and obviously there is a protest ahead of the Arsenal game 2 weeks on Sunday. I've seen a bit from some online aggregators about emptying the stadium for the Arsenal game, and we were approached about it, and I don't agree with this. I know Terry was talking about some stuff last night, but I've always been quite consistent on this. If you remember a few years ago, there was a protest that got arranged by social media, and it caused a division in the fan base because the official protest was like, what are you doing? And then the social media protest was like, we can all do it. And it just sort of splintered the fan base. And it's hard enough to bring this fan base together without going off doing other things. And I think that the United Stand is the biggest Man United football community in the world. Now, if we start getting behind a empty Old Trafford thing, and the Red Army, the 58, and Man United Supporters Trust aren't on board with it, you just divide the fan base, and then you are part of that problem. Everybody who's retweeting that, it shows you the volume. The positive is, it shows you the volume of people that want to empty Old Trafford, and their heart is in the right place. I'm not slagging them off in any way, shape, or form. It shows you the passion for change. But if you haven't got the Red Army, which is basically in Old Trafford and away from home, match-going, respected group, and you haven't got 58 and you haven't got the Man United Supporters Trust, and you've just got retweets on social media, you'll end up being ridiculed, and it will end up causing division. And loads of people will be going, well, it's better than nothing, Mark. And it is better than nothing, but is it? Because you will not empty Old Trafford, even if you've got everybody on board. But you certainly won't empty Old Trafford with a few retweets. It just won't happen. And then it doesn't help the movement. So what I would say is that emptying Old Trafford becomes a bit of an obsession. I don't think it can be done. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I don't think it can be done, because I think it's just financially, does it even bother INEOS and the Glazers anyway? Your ticket's already been bought. The big area, and it's in every bulletin or projection that Man United ever put out, is match day revenue. Match day revenue and sponsorship deals. And I was reading something the other day, I got sent it by one of you actually, and it was basically saying that Man United, I can't remember what document it was from, but it wasn't the shareholders meeting, it wasn't the quarterlies, it was something else. And it basically said that Man United almost put their financial future on the fans and on the players, in the sense that finishing higher in the Premier League, qualifying for the Champions League, winning trophies, fans wanting to come to games, to buy shirts, etc., all increases revenue and increases interest from sponsors. So I think that's something to really consider, is that this football club is massively reliant on your money and the team on the pitch performing. And if all those things start to drop off, no Champions League football, not in the top half of the Premier League, people stop buying shirts, people stop, being interested in brands. That is the power of Man United fans. We just don't figure it out very well. But the power of Man United fans is putting money into the Glazer machine. And if that money doesn't go in, then they're in trouble. Now, emptying Old Trafford, it's very difficult because most of that money's already in. Season ticket holders have paid for the year ahead. So unless people don't renew their season tickets in April, and then people don't buy the people that people don't renew them from, they've already got their money. Shirts, sponsors, something a little bit different. But you've got to think a little bit more than that. Robert McCormack says, how many of them have a ticket as well? Well, I don't know, on social media, of course. Fans can lose their season tickets now doing this, is Robert. And that's another problem. We spoke about that, didn't we? For every season ticket holder that decides they're not going to go, there's probably 10, 15 people waiting for that ticket as well. Getting games called off as well would be massive. But I don't know whether look, it wasn't me who said this. I can't remember who it was. It was about 18 months ago. I can't remember who it was. It wouldn't have been Must. Somebody said it, and it was absolutely spot on. If you could get... The only thing that hurt the Glazers was that game getting called off against Liverpool. And, imagine if Man United had to play games behind closed doors as well. The problem Man United have is that financially we're on the edge. So if we're a fan base that wants a change, it's now or never, isn't it? The club is financially on the edge. So if something starts happening that really fucks the club up financially, it's on the edge. Relegation, says Mark. I mean, we're not going to get relegated. Encountered an Instagram account posting Rashford highlights from Villa, saying United were wrong and that the new challenge Rashford mentioned referred to him proving himself to Amorim. Infuriating, says Forms. Mate, look, I'll read this out. So this is what I saw it today. So Jadon Sancho has made 0 successful crosses in 1,260 minutes in the Premier League this season. That's 0 successful crosses in over 12 games. And yet, he was cooking. He was cooking when he went to Chelsea at the start of the season. So, Rashford, I want Rashford to do well. We've already got the money from Sancho. I don't really give a shit what Sancho does. We've already got the money. That is nailed on. So, Sancho can do what he bloody well likes. He's a Chelsea player. He's not our problem. Rashford, we need to secure the P's. And to do that, we need those compilations and we need Rashford FC to keep tweeting, going, oh, he's cooking. He's making Amorim look stupid. Because there's much hype, whether it's true or not, the better. So I actually like the fact that there's all these compilations. I was watching Villa against Liverpool on Wednesday night on That's Football. And I just said, there you go, typical Rashford, doesn't track Trent, 2-2, there we go. Oh, the death threats were back again. And I'm like, I don't really give a shit about that, to be honest with you. You can't analyse this lad anymore, but at least he's doing it in another shirt. Because in a Man United shirt, it's ridiculous when it's your club. You can't even do it when he's in a Villa shirt. But I think he's done quite. I watched the second half against Ipswich. I watched the Liverpool game, and I'll watch the Chelsea game tomorrow. I think he's done okay considering he hasn't really played in 6 weeks, and I think he will get better. But God, it's a circus around him. I feel sorry for the kid. The cameras, the fan, the Rashford FC, they're just obsessed with him, and I would love that obsession to be somewhere else. So the better he plays and the more the clips, the better. Because if we can get 30, 40 million and he's somewhere else, I'm quite comfortable with that. Because we can't have a player who has the camera on them all the time and all the other issues, and also has fallen out with Amorim, and Amorim doesn't like him. So I hope he scores a hat-trick tomorrow. I hope he does really, really well, and I hope we can get some money for him because I think we're a better club without him. Confronting other Glazer businesses is a solution, says Keel. Thank you very much for that. I'll tell you what I would say about Rashford though, and because he has done okay for them, is that why the hell? This is a good one. Why the hell is Bruno Fernandes on every set piece? His corners are not good. I look at Declan Rice. I look at Saka. They can put power and dip on a cross, and Rashford has been taking Villa corners and doing. They're not all been good, but Bruno's not good at corners. Like, his corners aren't that good. He actually can't get dip, power, and height on it. I think that's something I have noticed. Only a little thing. But our set pieces are shit, and I think we'd benefit from changing it up a little bit. Sean M says, Bloomberg are jumping on the story today. If the debt is 425 million privately placed bonds that need to be paid back by June 2027, refinancing at higher rates will lead to significant increase in interest costs. Mate, if I said to you, United's financial situation is going to get worse or better, you wouldn't be surprised if you predicted worse. Radcliffe didn't recognise our female captains, as Wesley. Mate, that article with James Ducker in The Telegraph, I've got to say, as somebody who's been very critical of modern journalism, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And look, I know we ruffle feathers on this community, But if Gary Neville was sat doing the Liverpool-Man City game on Sunday and did a 5-minute rant about INEOS, I'd stand up and applaud. It's like, it was just brilliant journalism, well-researched, and it blew the bloody doors off on what's going on at Man United. We're cutting back on this. Everything's accountable. So Jim Radcliffe walking around the place and he doesn't know what's going on. Apparently there's spies going. It's just, it's. I know for a fact people hate working there. They love the club, but they hate working there. It's a horrible working environment. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows whether they've got a job in a month's time. So that article being written and put in the Telegraph just makes everybody take notice. Love United hate the ops, says Shaw got subbed on around the 50th minute for Amorim's first 3 games. Everton, then he didn't travel for the Arsenal game. I can't even remember that, mate. Well remembered. I don't remember. I sort of vaguely remember, actually. But Ipswich, Bodo Glimt and Everton. Yeah. Well done. Apparently you sent that 20 minutes ago. Okay. Anyway, Kone, let me talk to you about him. So there's a lot of rumour going around that Amorim is getting very close to being ready to use Kone. I think in the midfield at the moment we are a bit short. So I'm not saying he's going to start against Everton, but there are some in the system that believe that he's doing so well at the moment that he's not far off sort of moving ahead of Collier. Well, I think Collier at the moment, I think Collier's pretty close as well. So the fact that Kone is getting closer. Look, this is the future of Manchester United, isn't it? I don't know that if Kone came into the team and did well, we wouldn't sell him in 4 years' time for profit to Chelsea. But we are going to go down that road, obviously, of using young players, and the sooner we do it, the better. Obviously, the cynic in me thinks that we'll end up selling them because that's just the way the club's being run at the moment. But yeah, look, we saw that bench last week. A lot of you wanted us to use that bench. Whether we should have used that bench or not, I think is up for debate. But the reality is he definitely had those players ready to go. And look, maybe tomorrow. I mean, I don't know. We've got the press conference with Amorim at 1:30 today. Let's keep an eye out for the injuries because although Eriksen and Yoro are expected to be back, because it was illness, I don't know that Ugarte and Collier are back. We only played on Sunday. This is a Saturday lunchtime game, so I don't know. I'm looking forward. I mean, Damien says Everton are licking their lips. 4 wins out of their last 5 is very good in the Premier League, and it's our last game at Goodison. It'll be a great atmosphere. It's going to be tough, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we haven't played on half 12 on a Saturday for what feels like a very long time. I mean, somebody will say it was last week. It wasn't, but I can't remember the last time we played half 12 on a Saturday, and I always quite like those games. Get it out of the way one way or another. But look, I'm hoping what I think I saw in the second half against Spurs. Spurs scored a goal because we defended badly. They didn't really get loads of chances. We had more chances than them. In fact, who scored gave Vicario the man of the match for that game. So we obviously did something right. And I think that, talking about centre-backs actually, Branthwaite, I mean, is he still somebody on United's target list? I don't know. I don't know. I'll tell you what, actually, just came into my head there. It's funny how INEOS are apparently trying to blame Dan Ashworth for last summer's transfer window. You got Erik ten Hag doing an interview saying that he was happy with everyone that's been bought, but all of them were sort of scouted and recommended by the recruitment team. Dan Ashworth didn't start till July. So what are we saying? That Dan Ashworth was recruiting people in May and June? He didn't start till July. Just dropped into my head. I spoke about that. I've got to move quickly actually because I'm doing the Champions League draw at 11 o'clock on That's Football. If you want to join in for that, and we're back here at midday as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Oh God! Ooh, that was a big yawn. Really looking forward to the 8 o'clock show tonight. Don't feel like we've had a proper 8 o'clock show for ages on a Friday night. I'll be running up that hill with a few Morettis in me. tonight at 8 o'clock. But busy day, footballing wise. Fantastic show this morning. We're back here at midday for the Europa League draw. Then we're back here at 1:30 for press conference reaction. Then we're back here at 8 o'clock. So lots to get involved in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Fantastic community. As I said, love what you did last night. Really supporting things. This is what I always want the United Stand to be as well. Unfortunately, over the years, we've brought talent in and they've all pissed off to do their own thing, which is a shame. But, you know, that's the way it works. But so it makes it harder to do it. But we sort of fell on our feet a little bit. I wanted to talk to Terry about INEOS on Tuesday. And then I just thought, sod it. I think actually he's good enough to do a show on his own. And it worked really well last night. So, look, hopefully more of that sort of stuff to come. Because I just think it enhances the conversation when you've got people with who are capable of doing it with different conversation points. And I think that's what it's all about. Show, Dublin. Get your tickets. Going to be a great night. Loads planned. Can't wait for to get a few of you up on stage as well. And if you've bought your tickets, you should check your emails because you are going to start getting asked some stuff for the night as well. There's some interactive stuff we want to do. Take care, everybody. I'm going to be on That's Football literally in, well, what time is the Europa League draw at? Last I checked, I'm sure it's 11, I'm sure it's at 12. I think Champions League draw is definitely at 11. And then you've got Europa League draw at midday. Yeah. So we'll be back here for that. But if you want to see me for the Champions League draw, I'm on That's Football in about 5 minutes. Speak to you later. Legends. Take care. Bye. I just haven't ended the stream. Oh, so hungover. I haven't ended the stream.